Welcome to episode 3 of Inspired Conversations with Coaches podcast, where I share interviews with heart-centered coaches to inspire you to unlock your true self so you live a truly wonderful life. In this episode, we discuss navigating career transitions, and my guest is Elizabeth Houghton. Elizabeth supports people to find their yay. She helps people enjoy the way they choose to create wealth for themselves. This is a journey of unpacking stories we tell ourselves and learning to listen to our intuition to have the life we truly want. It's a wonderful episode. Let's get straight to it. So, welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you on here. Just done the intro, which is really cool. I was just saying I've done the yay bit as a made me smile. I can't help smiling when I say it, so it's really good actually. So we're going to talk specifically around navigating career transitions, which I think would be, whether it's people different age groups, it's such an appealing topic, I think, because the reason why I wanted to cover it is because it's at completely different levels of where you are at life is it can
Mhm.
affect people. Um, so where I want to start really is what are some of the common reasons people consider a career transition, and there's, I suppose, the second part of that question: now, how can they recognize when it's time to change?
Yeah, they're two very good questions. So we see quite a lot on social media, like the Sunday dread. And to be fair, I use that tagline as well. It is a little bit like, oh, it's very cliche, but that is it. When people start on a Sunday going, oh, I don't want to go to work on Monday, or it starts playing on their mind, or they have a level of anxiety or overwhelm in that, I would say that's the time where you need to go, oh, maybe the way I'm making my money isn't the way I should be making my money. Because let's face it, that's what work is about for most of us. It's paying our bills, but we can do that in so many different ways.
Yeah,
So that kind of feeling on a Sunday when you get that sickness in your stomach, that's probably the most common kind of,
yeah.
I need to do
I
something
mean,
different. That doesn't always spur people into action though.
no, I was gonna say, is there almost like a time level where they've had that feeling for a long time before they take?
Generally speaking, so if we're talking about people that have been in their careers not even for that long but a couple of years, say
Yeah,
they've taken the real traditional academic route and they've gone to uni and they've studied a certain thing and they've got a job in that thing,
yeah,
there's a whole bunch of stuff that then comes up for people around, I'm not happy in this,
mm,
but they should be happy, right? Like they've invested all of this time and money to do a certain thing. And the reality of it is, oh no. And people kind of get stuck with that. And we get used to it as well, don't we? In terms of, okay, I have a job, I have a nice salary, it's paying for the lifestyle I want, or it's getting me to my goal. How can I possibly change? So
yeah.
there's a
There's a
lot more
big
caught up in
entrapment.
just being
Yeah,
unhappy.
people feel like a real entrapment. Then do you feel?
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah,
what else are you supposed to do, right? It was really funny. I figure skate, and this morning I was having a private coaching session, and I was just talking about one of my clients, and my figure skating coach went to me, "Oh, well, I wouldn't have a clue what I would do. Like, how would I work anywhere else? I've been figure skating since I was 6 years old, and now I'm a coach. There isn't anything else I
mm,
can do." And that is so often our
yeah,
mindset of, "But this is who I am." Like we kind of connect our being and who we are to a job title,
yeah,
and then trying to take that step back of going, oh, that doesn't quite fit me anymore, and all of our commitments we have outside of it that our jobs enable us to have keep
yeah,
us sometimes stuck or scared. There's a fear of taking action, a fear of changing. We know we're unhappy. There's a level of, oh my gosh, I'll just push through it, I'll keep going, it will be fine. Once I get the next promotion, it will be fine, I'll be doing something different. Believe, if we are truly unhappy, it's not going to matter how much more money we get, how much more responsibility we get. That feeling of I don't want to be here isn't going to go away, and then that has a massive impact on like our mental health, how we show up for our friends, how we show up for our families. And so often we don't see it happening because it happens so gradually,
yeah.
and
I
taking action is
just
hard.
you're just taking in resentment, aren't you? And I suppose, and then it's got to come out somewhere. So it will come out in other forms like to the family and stuff like that without meaning it too.
And it's even the simple things of, I remember I'm a career changer myself, which is probably why I focus on this area of coaching. I didn't realize it, but I became quite boring to talk to, because I'd go out and I'd go for dinner with friends and my partner, and I would just
Mm.
complain about work. I would never say anything positive about it. It was just moaning.
Yeah.
There's a level of English society kind of accepts that, right? Friday night down the pub, probably very few people are going to say something
Mm.
nice about their work. But that was what got me, of actually all the conversations I have
Mm.
are just me complaining. And can you imagine being the person having to listen to that all the time? And
Yeah.
the toll that takes. So it comes out in all different ways. And we don't even realize it, because there's a level of, I think it's kind of ingrained in us to a point, due to society and how we've grown up and how our parents have grown up and what we've learned at school. Of, you have a job for life. You're not supposed to like work, right? Like, you're not supposed to. I'm sure we've all heard our parents come home from work and moan about it, or we've heard other people who work moan about it. So we kind of grow up with this feeling of, well, it's not meant to be something I enjoy.
Yeah. But
So
then we
having that, how do you change?
yeah. Yeah. And I can see that with that sort of scared monger. Um,
Mm.
but there's also, I think, it's interesting when I was researching for this episode that it brought up a lot of old feelings myself. I mean, I've been working myself for 15 years now, if you like, but before that, it was in corporate world and didn't have worked with one company for a very, very long time. Um, and interesting that guy, there was a lot of I was unhappy at the end, and when I walked out the end, and that was kind of which is probably a separate whole podcast in itself. That, but but there was some parts in it. One emotion it brought up for me is that when I was actually even wasn't unhappy in my work, because I was good at my job, and I liked it. I did business turnaround projects for the company, and I was good at it, so I was really enjoying it. It's quite well rewarded and stuff like that, and but there was a lot of times I was headhunted. So I'd offers from
Mm.
companies. And if you'd asked me at the time, it was like, no, I'm cocky, I'm on a trajectory or whatever like that. But when I look back now and knowing and done a lot more personal development and stuff like that now and things like that, there was a real, I think at the time, and I kind of do remember sort of time, a real sign of, well, how can I, how do I know anything? How can I go and work for another company? Because I know this company so well.
Yeah.
There was a real even then of, like, if I transitioned to another career, and there's some opportunities where I could have that were better,
Mm.
positions if you like, and promotional, promotions in terms of where I was at. But there was a level for me, being honest, that looking back, I was really scared of that transition to another company, and doing different ways and having, and being the new kid if you like, and stuff like
Yeah. Where did that fear come from? Like, what was your current
that.
work environment about? Like, was it really nice? Did you get on with everyone? Was it very social?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I think that was it. That was it. And I think when we talk about this topic, I think me being I never realized until a little while ago that I was heavily introverted. Right. And so I didn't realize that. And I think a big part of that was that, like, because I'm now basically I'm comfortable in my things, they change. But there was a level of that, of being in a new environment, being, new people, having to meet new people, prove myself again a little bit, and stuff like that. And and there's a little bit of, not regret, because I don't have any regrets really. Life, what it is. But this boy, I could have transitioned differently. But that was where, I think people have these opportunities to go to different careers, and there's so many things that brought up, and for me, a lot of it, I get what you say. A lot of people wear that feeling of not happy and whatever like that. But I had an interesting one. I say one of the emotions, but there was that part of it as well. But there was an emotion of, actually I was happy and I was doing okay, but I was still scared of any
yeah.
transition.
And
Uh,
that's so common, right? Because we
yeah,
get comfortable and we like being comfortable, right? Like, we've evolved so much as human beings, but generally speaking, we still revert back to fight or flight. But no lions are going to come and kill us, right? That is not going to happen anymore. But our brains still respond in that way. And it is about being comfortable, and there's security in that, right? If we go to work every day and we're good at what we do, and there's not this overwhelming dread or feeling of I don't like it, there might be like a little bit of glitter somewhere going, oh, I quite like that. But you know what? I'm really comfortable here. I get on with my colleagues. I know how to navigate things. I know how to navigate the red tape because I've been here for so long. So I can make change. It's paying my bills. Like, what more do you want? And there's also a level of, and I'm not saying this was your case at all, but there is a level of people sometimes think they should be grateful for what they have. And yes, we should be to a point, but sometimes that also keeps us stuck because it's like, I'm okay. Like lots of other people don't have this. They don't have these amazing colleagues, or not even necessarily amazing colleagues, but that camaraderie. Like if you work in a toxic environment, generally speaking, there will be a group of you, like there'll be 3 or 4 of you that will have coffee every day and you're all in it together. And it's almost like going to war, but in the workplace, because you've got each other's back. And there's also this level of, I can't leave them because if I do go something else, then they're going to be on their own. So you all just kind of stay.
Yeah. There's a lot of conditioning in there, isn't there, from the things. I think my condition was about about not burning bridges. So that's one that come up because, don't want to burn bridges and if you make the wrong decision, can you come back? And I knew that if I left, that it wouldn't be no way back because they would take it badly, So that was my perception. If it was true or not was irrelevant, but that was my perception at the time. That if I did leave it would be taken badly and so it would burn the bridges. So it's all that. So but getting into the because definitely don't want to talk about me too or the topic, but yeah. But how can someone identify the right career path for them, particularly when I imagine that you come across a lot with your clients you work with now, they're really unsure what the next step is.
Yeah. So there's several approaches to it. I quite like working backwards, not forwards. So you are where you are, okay? Which is great. And, it's paying your bills or it's not paying your bills, but there's something not quite right. But what is it do you want? And instead of looking at the job, because a job is just a generic job title that someone's come up with, and then lots of other organizations have kept it or slightly modified it, but it's just a job title, right? It doesn't really mean anything. But let's look at what we want from our life, okay? And there's lots of stuff that comes into that depending on the lifestyle we have. So like I mentioned earlier, I figure skate, right? So there's a level of me of, okay, whatever I do work-wise or whatever commitments I make, I need to be able to spend a certain amount of time at the ice rink. I'm also not a morning person, and I can imagine everyone's listening to this thinking that I'm an Olympic figure skater. I'm not going to be doing a triple axel anytime soon. But I'm also not going to be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and do that. I love it. 8 o'clock is the earliest it's going to happen, right? That's an important part of me, my identity, and what looks after my mental health. So the work commitments I make needs to fit around that. So that's condition 101, like flexibility in the workplace. And then you can think about, okay, well, where do I want to live? What does that look like? Am I in an apartment? Am I in a house? Am I in a 2-bedroom house? Have I got sucked in by social media and I think I need to live in a mansion when it's just myself? Like, what does that look like? And it's completely fine if you want the mansion. I'm not dissing the mansion.
Yeah, that's basically you being close to an ice rink would come up as an important.
Massively, it really changes where I can live because being in the UK, there actually isn't that many. I'm 2 roundabouts away from my closest ice rink, so it works really well. But all of this stuff comes into decisions. Like if you're moving house, what are the things, what's on your requirement list, right? And there'll be lots. Good internet. So you want to make sure there's whoever you're with, you can get broadband or fast speed than others. You also want it to be reliable, potentially. Do you want an outside EV charging socket? Do you want an allocated car parking space, or do you want your own driveway? Do you want a garage? Do you want a back garden? How big's that back garden? How many bathrooms do you want? What kitchen appliances do you want, right? So when we're buying a home or looking at renting, we have this massive list.
Yeah.
But none of it is about, it's not necessarily about what you're going to be doing. Does that make sense? It's the practicality elements of what it needs to have to ensure that you can have the lifestyle you want. But when we think about jobs, we think about it as the job itself, right? We write a list of skills,
Yeah, it's really
or we
interesting.
go, I'm good at these things because someone's told me I'm good at these things, and we believe that. But we then don't think about, okay, well, if I'm good at all of that stuff, that's amazing. But what about the rest of the hours in my life?
Yeah,
Yes, we spend a great deal of time at work, but work should enable and empower the lives we want,
yeah,
not detract from it. So it's very much starting from, let's paint this really clear picture of what a day, a week, a month looks like. What does it enable you to do? Can you take 2 holidays a year? Do you have unlimited holiday? Like, how many times do you want to go abroad? Where do you want to go? And then work backwards. That will start to give you what type of organization you can work for,
yeah.
where you want to work.
I
I
suppose
work,
like, yeah, because travel, if you're not a
oh
good
yeah,
person at traveling,
massive.
then it might be, you don't like trains or whatever, you don't like the train journey, because then work. And there's, I suppose there is that, isn't there? There's loads of people
Yeah.
working central London that moan about the journey
Yes.
thing.
And it is that. Like I will work with clients, and I've done it many times, and I'm like, well, how long is your commute?
Yeah,
Oh, no more than 20 minutes. Okay. So on a train, is that a bus? Is that walking? Is that several tubes and a bus? Like, what is that? What does that combination look like for you in the morning if you're willing to commute? And then it's almost getting a map and drawing a circle and going, well,
yeah,
that's where I can work, right? Okay, what organizations are in that circle? Google's here these days, super easy. You can find out what organizations are in that circle.
yeah,
But then it's like, okay, well, what does each of those businesses give you? We're so caught up in making businesses, or effectively other people like us,
mm,
we forget to say, you know what, I actually need something from you. And just paying my salary probably isn't enough these days. We've
mm,
been conditioned to think that's enough through like our history, and
yeah,
before we were chatting about kind of the job for life and stuff, and
yeah,
our grandparents and our parents' generation and so forth, if you don't swap and change. But getting our paychecks and purely getting our paycheck isn't really enough anymore. So what is it do we want? What do we want our work, or the way we choose to make money, to provide for us?
mm,
And that's actually a really hard question to answer. And
mm,
I alluded to it a bit earlier about being sucked down, like the social media part. Like,
yeah,
if you spend 30 seconds on Instagram, you're going to see someone with like the newest model car, big house, speedboat. So we're almost kind of told this
yeah.
is what we should want. This is the life we should want. Most of us probably don't want that life.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's I've always been disturbed by the word influencer, because
Yeah.
for me, it's like you're influencing someone, but there's is a good or bad. It's like
Mm.
influencers don't seem to be. So it's interesting they call them influencers. There's always been the watch out for me. There's a clue in the title of what they call them.
Yes.
They're not called inspirators.
No, they're
Yeah,
influencers because they
yeah,
encourage you to
yeah,
behave in a certain way, or want a certain thing,
mm,
or believe success is a certain goal, right? A certain outcome, a certain lifestyle. And that's also part of the journey of, that career transitioning and figuring out what you want, is defining your version of success. What does success mean to you? And that's very personal. I've never had 2 clients commit with the same definition of success. They've been
imagine.
similar, but they've never been exactly the same.
Yeah.
But that takes a lot of
It's
inner
interesting
work.
where you gave the example of the house, how many different layers of that is there,
Yeah.
it's like, and you're trying to, create the perfect recipe or whatever. So, it's I suppose
It is.
once people have done that list as well, which is probably a real interesting sort of insight from someone themselves. But and then is it a case of there's some things where there's give and take on, or is there's something where they're willing to,
Always. Certain things will have different policies. It's the same as buying a house, right? You have it definitely must have all of this stuff, and then nice to have stuff, right? So there's always a level of give and take. And then it's like, okay, well, what is more important to you? Because if you get A,
yeah,
are you going to get B
yeah,
or C? Like, which one, where is your flexibility? We don't design organizations for ourselves. So like, if we're looking to go into employment, there is a level of we have to fit into a predetermined structure.
Yeah.
But I'm very focused on, let's not shoehorn people into pre-existing position descriptions, right? If we can think about it, if we can dream it, if we can detail itself and write our own, I actually do like work with some of my clients and I get them to write their dream job description. So I give them a job description template and I'm like, write it and then bring it back to me. Because if we can dream it, if we can imagine it ourselves, I guarantee you it exists somewhere in some form, because we don't know every single job out there. We don't know every combination of skill sets that exist that employers are seeking. We don't have that much exposure to the whole world, and we do live in a global talent.
Is it that thing of with the brain? There's so much going on that we don't see, but it's like as soon as we, you might ask you like how many, yellow cars have you seen today? You might not think about that, but then if a pre asks you how many yellow cards, you're going to see loads all of a sudden because you're thinking about it. And I suppose same now, if you go create your, and I'm a big believer of, and every like that, you create your reality. I mean, that's completely different podcast as well, but yeah, but there is I love that idea around if you do your dream job, because then the universe is looking for it for you, isn't it? Because you've told the what you want, and you're looking out more for it because you're more clear on what that dream job looks like. Right?
But that's the hard thing, right? That's the human nature thing, because you have to do some real true self-reflection to be able to do that, because we get so caught up in what we should do or what we should want or what a job description should look like or what tasks should be in there. Actually being able to sit down and be honest with ourselves is very difficult.
Yeah.
It's not an easy process.
I can imagine. Yeah. Just think about it. And when we look at people that they've got that feeling in their belly, we go back to colour style, they've got that feeling, but they've been getting this every Sunday for quite a while now. Yeah. And someone close to them they trust, whether it's their partner or whoever, says, you need to do something about this. Or they realise themselves, it's got to that point where it's what I see me eat out. What are the there's going to be a lot of fears and uncertainty about that transition in careers. So how we talk about kind of, I want to lead you down to like, how can they manage that, almost that fear of failure? Is it, I suppose it's that, if they want that, and that fear of failure and that significant sort of kind of uncertainty of making a significant career change. And
no, completely. And that comes at quite a lot of, I'm a failure because I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, or how's the outside world going to see me? And like my career change journey, I had a lovely career. I had a really good career. I got promoted. It was great. I hated it. But externally, I kept getting all of this amazing praise, right? Of, oh my gosh, you're doing this, you're working for them, you got this job title, you've been promoted again. All of this lovely stuff. And I'm like, I don't like what I'm doing, but everyone keeps telling me I'm really good at it. You don't have to be bad at something to want to change your career. And it comes back to weighing up what is actually more important to you. And for some people, it's the external validation. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's not impacting your mental health and it's keeping you happy and you can do it, that's fine. But if you're at this point where like you're having the Sunday dread and you're starting to have conversations and people are starting to say to you, you probably need to have a rethink, then it is that, okay.
Yeah.
Does it matter what someone else says? Does it matter what their view is? Does it matter that they don't understand? Like when I officially stepped away, so my background is HR. When I officially stepped away from HR in 2017, I had so many people call me up and basically tell me I was crazy and I was throwing my whole life away. And why am I doing this? That takes a lot of resolve to go,
yeah.
You know what? I'm actually doing the right thing.
Uncertainty in your mind, am I doing the right thing?
So you have to be secure in the decision that you're doing the right thing for yourself.
Yeah.
what do I need? And that's the inner work, right? That's connecting to what do you need? And our bodies are incredible, right? They will tell us we're not happy.
Yeah.
We might not be very good at listening to our bodies because we like switch it off or we stop listening, but it will tell you. And it's around going, you know what, actually, I know in my hearts of hearts what I am doing right now, or the environment I am doing what I'm doing right now is not the right place for me. It doesn't necessarily need to be a career change. It could just
Yeah.
be an environment change. You
Right.
could love what you're doing, but it could be the environment that's making it really sucky.
Yeah.
So there's two distinctive things there, figuring out which one is it. Is it the thing I get to do, or is it
The
where
people
I
I
have
work with.
to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the way I'm having to do it.
Mm.
So once you get to that point and you might have this fear coming up, just reconnecting with it and catching that thought and like questioning whether or not it's true, almost having like this internal conversation with yourself of, does this statement in my head make sense? Is there evidence to support this? And that, again, it's not an easy thing to do, but catching it and almost breaking that circuit so it doesn't get stuck in your head and go round and round and round and going, I can't do anything else. This is all I know. No, let's catch it, because you didn't know how to do the thing you were doing at some stage in your life, and you learned how to do it. So you can definitely learn how to do another thing, or you can sit down and evaluate all of your skills and package them up differently.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy one. It's so much easier if you have the support of friends and family and you've got people on your side that are like, yes, you can do this. It's absolutely fine. You've got this.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that if you've made the decision yourself and you think, well, I know it because I'm not, every Sunday night it's like with it, the and probably a clue like that I always say when people say, they go, oh, I need a break or whatever. I mean, well, that's a sign that something
It's
daily.
not right.
But but when let's just say they've come to that decision, so whether you're in the weather one, they've really come to right, I need a career change. It's the right thing to do. But then how about dealing with the external pressures that navigating career things like family and
Yes.
those, like you've heard about societal a little bit, but mainly family around you that don't understand, also because it's and particularly if it's a a job. I remember when, an example, like I wanted to just get into sales or something. So my job I kind of fell into a little bit. It wasn't a thing. I just wanted to try sales and then and I wanted to try car sales. I was into cars and at the time or whatever like that. But then I just went into a sales job. And then from that the pressure I got from my family at the time, particularly my parents,
Mhm.
was the the potential side around, oh, it's just a salesperson. And I had to really fight about that. But I kind of, looking back again, it's quite strong for me to do the change that I did in the end under pressure because, well, and I tell you, the pressure used to come home. I used to come home. Remember, it used to be every Thursday get a local. I'm showing my age obviously here, but used to get the local paper. The jobs used to be in the local paper.
Yeah.
I would come home from work on a Thursday. My dad had put rings around jobs in the local paper for me to apply for. So there was that, and I'm really proud of myself that I was resisting against it because then as soon as I got promoted quickly and stuff like that. Then it was oh, he's a manager of this, he's a things, and it was, but that was a really family pressure around
Yeah.
sort of the potentialness of career, something like that. So what's your kind of advice someone to deal with that extra? They've been we've got to the point where thankfully they found you and they're okay with this, what their dream role looks like. But now it's that dealing with external pressures.
Externals, and it's so common as well. And I love your rings around newspapers. Like obviously, there's not newspapers these days to do it with, but that story
It'd be a
is
WhatsApp share
so
that, wouldn't it, I
common,
suppose?
right?
Yeah.
And that kind of, so other people don't understand it. Now, I would say in that story and in anyone's story, whether or not it's their partner, their parents, their friends, if they're kind of going, no, keep doing what you're doing, or no, change, go and apply for this job because you can do this, whichever way it is, where they're coming from is a place of their own fear of instability or change, but also from a place where they love you so much and just want the best for you, but actually they're not you, so they don't know what's best for you. So
They can't feel
sometimes
that pain that you're going
reframing it
through.
in
Yeah.
our minds of going, you know what, they're circling this newspaper because they really love me and they want what they perceive to be the best for me. Just that switch in how we look at that pressure can almost spur us on and disconnect us from that. I can't do it, or I must do it, whichever it may be. Can help us disconnect from that. Outside of that, if that doesn't work, there is a level of resilience and grit, unfortunately, that has to come into it. Because if you have people in your life who truly don't understand what you're trying to achieve or why you're trying to change career, you can explain it until you are blue in the face. They are still not going to understand it. And they're not going to understand it because of their own fears and their own worries and their own perceptions and their own needs. It's not yours. It's all their responses comes from their own place of anxiety, pushing through it, unfortunately, and just sticking to it. And it won't take very long for the people closest to you to see the difference in you. And when they start seeing that, you're not always moaning down the pub on a Friday night, they'll go, oh, maybe that was the right move. And you don't actually even have to changed jobs by this stage, because finding out what you want to do, it can be a really short process, but it also can be quite a long process. But starting down that journey, just opening yourself up to have that conversation, to be willing to allow yourself to be that vulnerable and that brave, that will start to change the way you're thinking and will start to change your behavior slightly. And then you might get less caught up in what's going on at work. It might impact you slightly less. So people will notice change in you very, very quickly. But it is a level of grit, perseverance, and just trusting yourself that you are making the right decision, and you're making the right decision long term. We don't have magic wands. We don't have an Aladdin and a genie in our bottle that can come out and grant our 3 wishes. Things don't happen overnight. Change doesn't happen overnight.
So is that
we know it's the right thing? It's the right thing.
So is that, I suppose, the advice in there is that you do the work to know it's the right thing. And then you know that you can stick to that if you like. But if it's just you wake up one Sunday, you don't feel like work on Monday, and you go, well, I need a career change, it's probably not enough thought.
Probably not enough. And probably after one Sunday, it's probably not. Did you just have a really lousy meeting on the Friday afternoon that you're like, oh, I don't want to go back to? No job is a bed of roses, right? No job. There's ups and downs to every single job. It's around what ups and downs we can actually handle and we are willing to handle. There's parts of everyone's jobs that we hate. I'm a coach. I absolutely hate selling, right? But if I didn't sell, I couldn't be a coach because I wouldn't have any clients. So what are you supposed to do? It's a rock and a hard place. I have to put myself out there and do that stuff to do the thing I really love. And that's the same with all jobs. It might be a spreadsheet you absolutely hate at work.
Or the traveling. So I suppose that's why people deal with a 2-hour train travel because of.
Yeah, potentially. But what is the motivation for that? And we all have different motivations, and there's no judgment on what those motivations are, right? Because we all have different drivers and we all want slightly different things. Like I told you, one of my drivers, and you alluded to, it also impacts on where I can live, right? Because I have to be close to an ice rink. I don't want to have to go early. So there is an impact on that. But that's also my driver. I wouldn't take a job that didn't enable me to do that. I wouldn't take on a client that into my time to do that. That's my decision to do that. So what's someone else's driver?
there's a it's called like a systemic winner phase where if you've got them things around you that are in place, like you said, then you're going to be better in your job anyway. So there's a better you, there's a better job, and there's a better outcome for whatever that company produces for whoever, that. So there's
Yeah,
a systemic win across the board there that's by the fact that you've taken that decision.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily say it's an ongoing debate I have of, is there something better or is there something different?
Mm.
Because every interaction, every job, every moment of our days, we experience something and we learn and develop and grow from that. So
Yeah.
I am not the same person I was when I was 16 years old. I have experienced a whole bunch of things. I've met a whole group of people. They influence me, what I've seen from them. Do I regret being in my HR career as long as I did, even though I was unhappy in it? No, I met some incredible people. I had some amazing experiences. I don't regret it because I wouldn't be the coach I am today if I hadn't done all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very much, and again, this is like one of those poster things that you pop on the wall.
Mm.
It's the journey, not the destination.
Mm.
So it's not about having this, I must be the CEO of, Google by the time I'm 35.
Yeah.
That's the destination. Well, what's the journey? Like, what are you going to go on? What are you going to learn? And really breaking it back to that of, you know what, I really enjoy trying to think of a job or a general job. But you could have, say, an office corporate job where you get to do lots of different things, a bit of admin, all sorts of things, but you also get to do a tiny bit of project management. It could be, you know what, after sitting down and reflecting and going through all of my skills and understanding how I interact with people, what my communication style is like, what works best for me. Like you've said you're an introvert. There'll be certain things for you that's like, oh, I don't want to do that. But you know what works best for you. So you probably lean into that more and going, you know what, it's actually project management I really like. And I really like that because I get to see something from start to finish.
Mm.
I'm in charge of it. I get to design the flow of it. I get to interact with lots of different people depending on the scope of the project and what teams are involved, internal and external. That is what I want to do more of.
Mm.
So it's not always this massive overhaul. I think people think when they think about career changes that they're turning their backs on absolutely everything they've ever done before and
Yeah.
they have to do something radically different.
Yeah.
But
I
if
think because it's fine. The experience. I remember when I first kind of managerial job. It's interesting that it was. I went through an exercise of taking like the best bits from all the managers I'd had previously. Trying
yeah,
to take the best bit. But what's quite interesting was that um, I didn't. I didn't put them in a thing of managers that I liked, if you like, just all the managers I had. So I listened to the managers I had and then took the best bit. It was
yeah,
interesting that there were some managers where I didn't like the person at all, but I took some of the best
mm,
because of that thing, which was really, interesting. And so it's all, even though working for that person at the time wasn't a good experience, actually later on there was some things that they did that I actually, kind of made me the person I was, if you like, the top manager I was, because I took the best bit from that, even though my experience with them at the time was a poor one or whatever.
yeah,
I do want to get into a bit of the mindset part of it a little bit.
yeah,
The Particularly when someone's transitioned into a new career now, so they've kind of done a work, they've got a new career or just
yeah.
stepping into that career. What mindset shifts, easy for me to say, mindset shifts are necessary for that successful transitioning into a new career?
Having faith and trust in yourself is huge. So, as generally
Self-belief.
speaking, as part of the journey. I'm sorry.
You put that self-belief in.
Yeah. So part of the journey is believing in yourself and believing that you can do it and believing that you truly do have the skills to go and do so, or you have the ability to learn the skills
Mm.
because we don't know everything and we grow every day. We quite often have something called distorted thinking patterns, and they will generally be more of the negative things that come up. So things like, I'm not good enough, I'll never get it done, I won't fit in, I'm going to fail,
Yeah.
I'm not skilled enough, I'm underprepared, I need more skills. I'm an imposter. So often we skew towards a negative. And again, our brains are wired to do that, okay? Because they're there to protect us, fight or flight. But no lion is going to come and kill us. We just need to remember that. Nothing drastic is going to happen. But our brains are
the clock
hardwired to
brain will
protect
kick in.
ourselves.
As I
Gone.
said, the clock brain will kick in terms of yeah.
Yeah. But we are hardwired to protect ourselves, right? So it's that level of nervousness. Like whenever we go into a new environment, for whatever context, may it be work, may it be going to a brand new networking event, may it be you're a parent and you're going to a new sports club with your child for the first time, and there's going to be all these new parents. There's always a level of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to fit in here. So it is having that, okay, let's catch that thing. Like if you're saying to yourself, you've got this new job, you've been through interview and you're really excited, and then you've got the, what happens if I don't fit in?
Yeah.
Okay, let's catch that statement that we're telling ourselves, because quite often we're not going to say what happens if I don't fit in. It's I won't fit in. We're much stronger with the way our brains talk to ourselves. We're quite negative in our internal heads. Let's catch that. Okay, where's the evidence that you're not going to fit in? Did you fit in your last job? Did you have people you could go have coffee with in your last job? Have you got friends from school that you still talk to? Or do you have a social group? So you were able to fit in. You were able to adapt. People like you. You have people to talk to. You don't have the evidence to support that statement. Quite often for some of my clients who do complete career change, it's that I'm an imposter or I'm not skilled enough that comes up because they've potentially gone and invested in themselves, learned something new, or they've pivoted the way they're talking about their skills to be able to apply them in a new setting. So when they get that contract, it's all like, oh, I can't actually do this, comes into mind. But it's then sitting back and going, you know what? Yeah, I can. I haven't had this job title before, but let's look at what's in it. I've been interviewed, and these days you're probably going to be interviewed more than 3 times because the world's gone crazy and organizations like talking to you a million times. Like the longest recruitment process I've seen recently is 7 stages. Wow. Who has that much time to invest? But anyway, that's the process. But you know, you would have had a telephone interview, a first round interview, second interview at best, right? Let's say you've met them 3 times.
I don't think I've more than 2 ever, actually.
Yeah, it's a little crazy out there right now. I don't recommend any more than 2. I don't think it's a good recruitment process because of the time. But anyway, I'm not a recruiter. But you've had that. You've met these people that you're going to work with. They've met you. They've connected with you on some level. They have given you a job offer. They have faith and trust in the fact that you can do what it is they're employing you to do. They are invested, right? Recruitment is a hugely expensive task for an organization. It's not something they go into lightly. It costs them lots of money. And even like that time to get you up to speed to actually be adding true value to an organization, to bring you into their culture. They invest a lot in new people. So, but they believe that you can do it. And going back to that and trusting in that, I actually did quite well in the interview. And there potentially was people who had more qualifications or a stronger CV, but the organization didn't connect with them. They connected with you. And it's taking that on and trusting that.
It sounds like you're interested in it, but the thing your the way you said that confidence in that career transition. So how can individuals build that confidence in that themselves? And from what you said, is there tips and stuff that way they can build their own confidence into that rather than
so most definitely.
I know what you're saying is absolutely true, but it's kind of
how do you do
I
it?
play devil's advocate. There'd be people like I know that, but I still
don't know how to do it.
I'm still
don't know how to do this.
Yeah, walking when they've got drinks and like that because they're so nervous, and it's like how do they someone go about and you made it to your coach, I suppose, the clients when they come to you, it's probably lack of confidence initially. So how do building their confidence then to navigate that transitional?
It is then kind of allowing your negative brain to run rampant. And I know that sounds horrible, but what's the worst it can give you, right? What is the worst if your brain can jumble up in there and say these negative things or these worrying statements? And like I said, catching all of them.
Yeah.
And strategically looking at them
And defunking them sort of one by
and
one.
debunking them. Now, don't fool yourself. It isn't about lying to yourself at all. But if you don't have the evidence to support it, then, and it's not one piece of evidence, okay, to support it. If you go, oh, you know what? Back in 6th grade, Billy Joan really hated me, so I'm not going to fit in anywhere. Okay, let's reassess that. Let's think about where's the evidence that says you can.
Yeah.
And is there more of that than the negative?
So with the negative, is there a bit of they create this story in their mind, but it's actually it's unfactual at best.
Massively. We do it all the time. That's our bodies, like I said, we are hardwired to protect ourselves. So we will create stories in our heads that have absolutely no evidence to support them. But we tell ourselves it so much. It's that, and this, like, it will depend on who's listening to this podcast, but it could sound quite woo-woo and fluffy, but we become what we believe.
Yeah.
So if we keep telling ourselves we can't be a project manager, well, you're never going to be able to be one, are you? Because you've told yourself repeatedly that you can't do it. So it's taking that step back and going, okay, let's go back to the job situation. How do we build that confidence? By this stage, if you were working with me, we would have done lots of stuff on unpacking your skills and attaching stories to each of them so you understand what they are, but you have practical stuff to talk to them. But in that new job, and you're like, oh, I can't do it. How do you build your confidence? One, there was at some stage in your life you didn't know how to walk. You can do that now, can't you? For the most part, right? We learn every single day of our lives.
Yeah.
So trusting in the fact that, you know what, actually we've been learning since the moment we entered this world and we haven't stopped. We might not consciously do it, but we haven't stopped learning, right? I think my iPhone recently updated and I've got new features on it and I'm like, but give me a week, I'll be fine. So trusting in the fact we have an endless ability to learn. Then looking at, okay, what's crushing that confidence? What's taking that kind of, where is that coming from? What is that feeling? And it's okay to be nervous. Like, it's normal to be nervous.
Yeah.
But it's not allowing that to stop us or hinder us in moving forwards. So, okay, you're a little bit nervous. You've suddenly decided you don't think you can do the job that you've applied for and you've been given. Going back to, okay, let's break it down. What does this new job entail? Let's get really detailed about it. Let's write out, like, what is every day going to look like? Okay, so you're going to go in the morning, going to say hello to the receptionist because that's a polite thing to do. You're going to make a coffee. You're going to say good morning to everyone that's in the office. Going to start making friends. And you're probably going to sit down and open your emails. Can you open emails? The answer is, yeah, of course you can. You might not quite know the system. I use one system and I have other people that use another system. I don't know how to use the other system. And I'm not going to drop brand names, but there's certain ones I'm like, oh, I don't like that. But it's because I've never used them before. It's not that it's impossible.
Yeah.
So it is getting really granular. And I know it sounds a bit silly to like really break it down of, oh my gosh, can I walk in and say hi to the receptionist? You know what? I actually can. My hands might be a little bit sweaty and the first hello might be a little shaky because it's my first day. That's normal.
Yeah.
But you did it. And then what's the next?
Visualizing that because it's a big change, isn't it? If you like.
Massive.
Yeah. And so visualizing that change. I suppose what you're saying is that when it actually happens, you go, well, that weren't bad. And then so you're enforcing the success stories
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. So re-trusting in that process, and even re-trusting in the fact, I changed my CV, I've updated my LinkedIn, I went for an interview, I convinced someone I can do this job, but for somewhere at some point in that journey between offer and starting, you've started to convince yourself you can't do it. So reconnecting to that person that had the confidence to put themselves in a position they were uncomfortable with. So it's all about taking action despite of that, like, oh, I can't do it. And we all have it. That's all I want. It's natural. Don't beat yourself up. Like if you're listening to this podcast and you feel like that, it is a completely normal human behavior. And I think so often we think, maybe me that feels like this, because we don't openly talk about the negative stuff, do we? Like going back to social media, we only see the good stuff. We don't see that it took them 500 pictures to get to the one they actually posted today. We only see a curated version of people. But actually, the reality is we all go through the same journey. We have the same number of insecurities. We all have different ones, but they're there.
Yeah.
How do you have the courage, and it does take courage, to take action despite of maybe a little bit of negativity going on in our heads and a little bit of sweaty palms on our first day?
And it's
just go through every moment and go, oh, I did it.
Fear of change, like you said, like with an update of your phone. And like, first of all, you're, oh God, but then actually, within a couple of days or whatever, Daddy would realise it, and it's fine, wasn't it? And you nothing to worry about it at all. And then you got used to that one, and you don't,
And get another one, right? But that's the nature of our lives, right? We live in this constantly changing environment. Very few things are stable, right? And that's also why career change is so hard, because we get comfortable in our environments. No matter how unhappy we are, we kind of get comfortable with being unhappy, so that's okay. And then when we start to break out, going, you know what, actually, I don't want to spend what's retirement age these days? I have no idea. Like over 80, probably late 70s, something like that. It's pushing up there, right? And for there's younger generations than that listening to me talk, it's probably going to be even harder. Do we want to be unhappy for that period of time, or do we want to take a chance on ourselves and give something a go? You've given something a go before, you got through it, you're still here. Let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. It's also I love the base conversation about the sort of the mindset element of it and dealing with life, impacts and examples you're giving is really good. Kind of sort of bringing to an end now, but are there other than working with you myself, right? Are there any specific resources of tools that you would recommend for people navigating a career transition?
That's an interesting one, isn't there? There's loads of different tools out there, and everyone has a different perspective. But there's also lots of free content. Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is this. I mean, hopefully people come across this, because I think the insight that's been really valuable for yourself, Elizabeth, today is that I think if I go on YouTube and type in navigating career, your transitional career, right, it's going to be a lot of I'll just say this nicely, sort of teacher sort of kind of element, people very analytical sort of kind of and just do this and this and that. But reality is that with very little, because we're all different, we're all things, and appreciate it. But I think if you look at what I love about this conversation about the mindset stuff and the examples you're giving and stuff like that, we bring into it. So if someone just goes on to YouTube, and there is a lot of free stuff, it's that I worry after having this conversation with you, I worry what route that takes them down.
What they take to, and most definitely, and I say this to clients all the time, because I have people that will YouTube what a standard interview looks like, or one interview in a certain industry looks like, and they go down a rabbit hole.
I can watch an hour version or 4 hours of that.
Yeah, you've got
as soon as then a family member says, "Oh, that's rubbish," it defunks all that 4 hours in one go. So
if you are truly thinking about a career change, there's not one resource out there, because we are all different. There's not one coach out there, and you don't need a coach to do a career change. And I'm probably doing myself out of nose of business right there. But you can do it yourself. There are free career services if you're based in the UK. So Google, there is actually a hotline that you can call up and have career guidance and career conversations for free by qualified career practitioners. So if you just want a conversation, you can do that. If you are a recent graduate or you graduated in like the last 10 years, your university, generally speaking, will still offer you career guidance. They have, again, career teams that you can go back to and talk to. There has to be a level of internal regulation in the information you consume, because when you're in this spot and you're like, oh, I want to do something different, it's actually really easy to be influenced by others. Because if someone tells you, oh, you know what, I read it, and I did do this, I read a really interesting article the other day on cybersecurity, and it said there's a massive skill shortage in the UK. I think you should go into cybersecurity. Really? Is that actually going to be the right advice for everyone you talk to? Probably not, because you don't know that person, and everyone has different.
We're seeing that with AI at the moment, aren't they? People saying, oh, you should be doing AI, you should be doing AI.
Yeah, or your job's not going to exist anymore because of AI. Like, there's lots out there. So there does have to be a level of, okay, I'm happy to have a look at that.
Yeah. But
I'm going to critically review that. I'm going to look at, okay, what do I enjoy doing? I would just say, I'm going to give you a free tip on this call. Actually, do this. Right? Go to work on Monday or Tuesday or when it may be, but pick 5 days of your work week. 5 days. And you're going to get a red pen, an orange pen, and a green pen. Or different colored post-it notes, or you can get really excited about it. But they're the colors you need. Red, orange, green. And you are, for those 5 days, and do not do it for any more than 5 days, because we don't have the capacity to actually do it for more than 5 days. It will drive you insane and you'll resent it. Even though you might only have certain things in your work cycle that you only do once a month, you can imagine those in that 5-day period. Write down in green what you absolutely love doing, what lights you up. And that's not necessarily just about the task. That could be the fact that when you come in the morning, you have a 20-minute chat with the receptionist. I used to love that, right? When I was the head of HR in an organization, I absolutely loved coming in the morning, walking out the lift and just chit-chatting with the receptionist for a little while. It was lovely. So that was important to me. So that would have gone on my green list.
Yeah.
Your red list is, oh my God, I never, and I mean never, want to do this again. For me, that is Excel spreadsheets. I hate spreadsheets. They're an amazing resource, and I know they do lots of things, but for me, it's not the way I am. Like, I'm not inclined to do that. Doesn't float my boat. Don't understand it. It's not fun. So that would go on my red list. And then you've got the which goes on your orange list. So you don't mind doing it. You could do it, right? It's not going to fill you with yay and joy, and you're not going to be really happy about it. But you don't hate it. So by the end of that week, you're going to have 3 lists. Those lists are going to tell you quite a lot about yourself and what you enjoy doing at work and what you don't enjoy doing at work. And then off the back of that, put your red list to one side. Because you know that's not what that's the stuff you don't want. Yeah. Focus on your green list. There might not be enough on your green list to actually scope out a whole new role, but then start digging into it and start, jump on Google and start asking Google questions like, what jobs incorporate X, Y, and Z? What are the things on your green list? And it's going to pop up suggestions for you. Don't spend ages and hours looking at each one. 10 minutes at each of the best, otherwise you're going to go down this rabbit hole and you're never going to finish a research, so you're never going to make a change, right? But have a quick look and go, does that sound like me? Do I feel like that is the type of stuff I would enjoy doing? Okay, yes, it is. You've got a job title. Amazing. Make sure it's a relatively generic one that goes across all industries, so it can be applied anywhere. Write that down and keep doing that on your green list. If you're not getting enough, start bringing in your orange stuff, but make sure the stuff you're going, I'm interested in, doesn't have anything on it from your red list. Good tip. And that will start to help you generate some ideas. Yeah. Without consuming lots of content and having other people influence your decision.
Yeah, I do like that. It's a good tip. And also coming from a positive element rather than the negative element.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
There is
also,
always something we like about work, always.
yes.
It
Yeah.
is there. It might get lost depending on how disengaged we are in our job, how much we hate our job,
Yeah.
but there is always something. And it could be, you know what? I really enjoy this thing,
Mm.
but I absolutely hate who I have to do it for. Okay, let's disconnect the two. Do you enjoy the task? Do you enjoy the process of that task? Amazing. Okay, the person you have to give it to or the person you have to communicate with, not so much, but that's fine. They're not going to be there in your next role, right? They're not going to follow you. But the actual thing you're doing, you enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Because it's been true, because I imagine that list when people do it, it's the actual red stuff will probably be quite small, but it's probably quite significant.
Yes,
Yeah.
massively,
Yeah.
massively. The small stuff is always the most significant.
Yeah.
I think we get caught up in the big stuff. It's very easy to say this always happens. The reality is it doesn't always happen, right? But we get caught up in that mindset of, and also over dramatizing stuff. So focus on the small things that really matter to you, that you really do enjoy. And it could just be little things, but that will add up and that will start to paint a picture or tell you a story that you're like, you know what, actually, this stuff I really enjoy doing. Or I did this one project a while ago. I didn't enjoy all of it, but I really enjoyed that one bit. Did you enjoy it enough to learn more about that one bit? Did you enjoy it enough to invest in learning about that bit?
It's really good tip. Really good. And we're going to end the conversation there. It's been fascinating. It's been really good. Thank you for sharing all your yes, I have. If for people that want to get in touch with Elizabeth, we're going to put your website address, which is Sutton Full Potential, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Sutton Full Potential. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably a quicker way of contacting me.
Okay. We'll put both your LinkedIn profile and your website address in there. So wherever you're watching this, listening to this, if you want to get in touch with Elizabeth, then the connection details will be in there. It's been amazing, Elizabeth. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
sharing so much. And I love the route we've gone down with a lot of the mindset stuff as well, which I think is going to be really super powerful and a lot different from a lot of other boring career transitional videos that are out there on podcasts.
Hopefully. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you.